Thank you so much for meeting me today. I'm so glad to share with our audience really what school board is, what it does, and why people should be paying attention to this election. So, first, tell us a little bit about you, your name, and why you're running for this position.
Yeah, thank you so much for having included me in this series that you're putting on. I appreciate that because a lot of people are really wanting to see information and get informed of all the various candidates that are running for office right now. But my name's Jesus Nieto, and I'm running for Katy ISD School Board Trustee Position 5. And I decided to run because I did not want to see the continuation of our public schools here locally continue to crumble. I have been very active in advocacy work surrounding public education, not just here locally, but also in Austin, going to the Texas legislature and advocating for school funding or just better legislation that would support educators and students. But of course, we've seen over the past several years, horrible bills that have been passed that have impacted us locally here in Katy ISD and across the state.
What would you say was like the final straw to dive in? You're like, okay, that's it. I'm definitely running now.
There was a variety of reasons why I decided to file. One of them being the culture that was on the school board. Currently, we have 3 board members that decided not to refile. And those were the 3 that kind of pushed me to file at the end of the day because of how horrible they have been to the community. The community has been very hurt because of their actions in the past 3 years that they've been on the board. And I think that not only is it time for change, but the community wants to see change.
Absolutely. Definitely a great time. Why not? If not now, then when?
And if not me, then who?
Yeah.
I think it's really time for people to step up, no matter whether you win or lose. I think it's important to give the public and the community a different option.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little more about why this specific office, like you said, have already been advocating with your nonprofit in various ways. So how do you feel like this specific office is going to give you the greatest impact for what you do?
First of all, my mom has been an educator for the past 20 years. She's been teaching bilingual education in the kindergarten, and having that experience, living under her roof, hearing her struggles of what has been happening in her school district and in her prior school district, I had to step up. I have been advocating here in KDAC for the past year and a half, and I've already been doing this. Might as well actually go in and try to seek the role that makes those decisions, right? So being on the other side of the table, I might be able to actually make more effective change than just going there and speaking for change. How about actually getting the change to be done?
So
Yeah.
it's already in your family, it's already in your history. You're already been exposed to that environment, and now you're just able now to actually go in it and try to make changes.
Right. Yeah. I come from a family of educators, like my mom, my aunts, some of my aunts in El Salvador, where I'm originally, where my family's from. Yeah. We have a long line of educators.
This is definitely the perfect role for you. So a lot of people don't even know about this role.
Right.
It seems so far away. They just don't even realize who is making these decisions. So tell us more about this role as a school board position, what they do, and the impacts that they make in KDISD.
Yeah. So a school board is made up of 8 people, right? You have your 7 trustees and your superintendent. Those 7 trustees are voted by the public. The only requirement to be a trustee is that you have to live in a district and you have to be 18 years or older. And of course, an American citizen to qualify to become a trustee. Then the community votes because our lovely constitution says that you can't have taxation without representation. And because everybody that lives within the boundaries of the district, you get your elected officials from that, right? And which is why it's so important to pay attention to the school board elections, because these are the individuals that make a decision across the entire district, whether it's priorities for student success or the school district, whether it's finding solutions for some of the problems that our educators are facing, or whether it's passing or not passing, approving or disapproving the budget that has been crafted by the administration. A trustee has 3 main responsibilities, right? oversight of the superintendent. So that means evaluating his or her time within, I guess it's every year they evaluate the superintendent.
Right.
So that's oversight. The other one is setting policy, setting priorities for the school district. And the last one is approving or disapproving the budget. So those would be the three main priorities of a school board member or trustee, and it falls on the entire board. And why it's important for the community to pay attention, because like I said, this impacts everybody across the district: educators, students, community members that pay taxes to the school board. Whatever they pass in that budget, those are tax dollars that are going to be used across the board.
Now, what are some of the concerns or issues that the community can bring to the school board? Maybe they don't know what they need to come to these school board meetings for, what kind of
Right.
issues they could bring. Maybe instead of going to the principal, it's something you bring to the school board. What are some of those concerns that you typically hear in those kinds of meetings or that people can?
Yeah, so at school board meetings, what you would typically see would be some of the more macro level problems or conversations of how are students performing within testing, right?
Mhm.
Or if there are different capital projects that are being constructed within the district. Those are the type of conversations that you will hear on the school board. However, the public still has the ability to come in and comment on concerns that they want the school board to hear. That includes the trustees and the superintendent. Every school board meeting, you have a public comment section where residents can sign up. Residents and non-residents actually can
Right.
just sign up, and they'll have 3 minutes to speak if their item is on the agenda. If it's not, then they'll only have, I believe, 2 minutes to speak.
I think a lot of people don't realize why they should be there, what kind of questions they can bring to the board.
And they can bring any type of question, whether they're facing some type of hurdle within their specific school, or whether an educator feels like there needs to be more support in a certain area. That educator can come and speak to the school board.
Yeah.
Different organizations within the school district can come and speak as well. I know like 2 meetings ago, there were a couple students that came to speak because of their language exchange program was being, I guess, cut. I'm not too sure what was going on there, but they were advocating for the language exchange program to continue, which I think is an important piece to allow students to expand their skill set when it comes to language. So they were just using that tool of public comment, bring that up to the decision makers for the district.
Okay, if you are elected, what are 1 to 2 decisions that you would be responsible for that would directly impact students and families? And obviously, you're on a board, so it's not
Right.
just you, but as a school board, what are some decisions that you would be responsible for?
So, like, our three main responsibilities would be to approve the budget, have oversight over the superintendent, and set priorities. And as a trustee, my main priority is to ensure that we are doing everything that we can to support our educators right now. Everything that we've seen that has been going on in our state has been impacting us here locally.
Right.
It has impacted educators in the classroom. It has impacted students on their rate of success. So if elected, I am going to try to convince the board that we need to set a priority list of ensuring that our educators, that we have their back, and that we are doing everything that we can to support the students.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things going on and a lot of miscommunication happening, and we just need to correct that. We need to find a way to be more proactive in actually communicating with the community and bringing them on board so that we can all work together to find those solutions.
Team effort, keeping
It's-
everybody in the loop.
Yeah, it's going to take everyone
Yeah.
because we are in a unprecedented in public
Yeah.
education.
And we need the village. It's not just the school board, but we
Right.
need everybody else.
Right.
Okay, you've talked about things like teacher support, your academic outcomes, and keeping politics out of the classroom. Which of these feel the most urgent right now, and why?
I have to
Maybe all of them.
Yeah, all of them are important, but the biggest thing for me, especially as a son of a teacher, is that educator support piece. We have to be there for them.
Yeah.
They have gone through so much since COVID.
Yeah.
And it is very ridiculous to me to see the level of disrespect that our educators have received over the past few years.
Yeah.
These are individuals that are teaching our future. These are the individuals that are teaching the next doctor, next engineer, the next lawyer, the next top person that's going to change our society, right? And they are not getting the credit that they deserve. They're not getting the flowers that they deserve. And I want to be a trustee that's going to shout from the rooftops, right? That will make them feel heard, make them feel empowered, make them feel like they can rely on the people at the top making those decisions for them. So that's what I would lead with. I've been leading with that since day one, since I filed, making sure that we have something in place that will actually just get them to be supported. Also changing the culture. A lot of the educators that I've spoken to feel like the people at the top have not supported them because of the current leadership that we've had and the current leadership that we used to have here in KDI. Making sure that the people at the top understand and acknowledge that we need to change the culture in order to have our educators feel welcome, that they can approach us and have these tough conversations that must be because of where we are in our public education system.
They've become out of touch. They're out of the loop. They no longer have a true temperature of what's happening in the classrooms or in these districts, in these schools. So that's why so many teachers aren't being heard. So what does that look like? You mentioning helping them and helping them be heard and being more supportive. What does that look like? Do you have any ideas for what that actually looks like?
We could start somewhere, right? We can start with having actual dialogue with different groups within the district, right? We have paraprofessionals, we have bilingual educators, we have ESL educators, we have programmers. There's so many different groups that need to be involved in the conversation to understand how we can move forward and create a plan of progress. And one of the biggest things that I've continued to say is having those listening sessions, but having a listening session that not only protects the educators that are coming forward and being vulnerable with us, but having a system where there won't be any retaliation against people that come forward and speak. Because that is one of the biggest fears, that people that serve at the lower level, I've gotten told that people are scared because they just feel like the people at the top are just going to turn around and say, okay, you're talking bad about us, so now you're going to be on a performance improvement plan, or they're going to get rid of you somehow. So I don't want that to happen at all. Ensuring that we have some type of way of protecting them is going to be a priority for me.
Absolutely. You've mentioned a little bit about some things that you have been told or heard. What are some other concerns that you've been hearing, being out on the campaign trail, knocking on doors, phone banking? What are some issues or concerns that people are having when you talk about the school board?
Yeah, I've talked a lot about the educator side, but whenever I've been knocking on doors these past few weeks and months, I've heard a lot from parents that have told me that they haven't felt welcome, that they don't feel part of the KDIC community, and that they feel left out. And that kind of perks my ears because I'm wondering why they feel this way. People have also told me that they've taken their kids out of the school because, not because of the vouchers, but because their student has been bullied several times over and over again. And when they've tried to go to the school, nothing has happened. And that's something that I've heard a lot as well, is bullying. And I'm wondering why, if this is such a big problem, why has the school board or the district not created a plan to address bullying? We know that as people are growing, they make mistakes. They don't know everything. Nobody's perfect. But there are measures that we can take within these educational spaces to prevent bullying from continuing. If a student makes a mistake, specifically talking about bullying, what is set in place? What mechanism do we have within our school district to prevent that actions from happening again? So as a trustee, that's the type of conversation that I want to approach this topic with. I want to ask administrators, are there any mechanisms in place right now? And if they're not, let's go and find different mechanisms to put those in place to prevent these things from continuing to happen. Because if this is truly happening and we ignore it, it's just going to create a bigger problem, which is just going to explode into our face, right? On the school board.
Right. We want prevention, but
Right.
also clear consequences for when it happens. And I feel like schools are missing both of those things.
Right.
We're really
Right.
not doing enough to prevent it. We're not
Right.
providing enough support for that. And
Right.
then we're also not providing enough support when things happen and having a fair cut, you know.
And I want to be fair to the school district, right? They do have a app that students, staff, anybody can go in there and submit an anonymous note. However, I've also been told that after those notes are submitted, nothing happens.
Right, where it's like,
Which is, it's great that we have an anonymous app
Right.
that does those things.
that's just one step.
Exactly. We need to have several mechanisms in place to prevent as much as possible.
Right.
Prevention is key. When you think about healthcare, there's a lot of preventative things that you can do before you ultimately get sick. So it's just, we need to take that approach. How can we prevent these things from continuing to happen?
So, said before how a lot of people don't pay attention to these elections,
Yeah.
municipal elections. We have typically a mayor, city council, and school board. And because this is not a presidential election, even a primary, these are much more local, and a lot of people don't pay attention to them. A lot of people don't even realize that it's happening. How do we draw more people to that? How do we get more visibility on these smaller elections and
Yeah.
draw people out? What do you feel
Yeah.
has been successful for you?
Social media, right? As a young person, social media has been such a helpful tool for me, trying to get the message out as much as I can. A lot of when we talk about local elections, a lot of the times, like you said, people have no idea. This is a May 2nd election. People don't even know that there's a May 2nd election sometimes when you go and talk to them.
Right.
So I think just using social media, having community events, which by the way, this year we've had so many community forums. I think the final count is, I think, either 7 or 8 community forums, which has never been before in Katy. So it's a positive thing, right?
Yeah.
That means a lot more people are being engaged. A lot more people want to hear what these candidates are saying and what they want to do. Having community forums, using your social media platform, just spreading the message as much as you can, going to local businesses and just having chats with the people that work there. That's what I've been doing. And of course, knocking on doors. With these low voter turnout elections, the key is to get the vote to turn out. How do you do that? You have to go and knock on doors. You have to go and talk to people. You have to meet people where they are, because if you don't, then you're going to miss the moment. And I think we are in a time where local leaders need to meet the moment, or people are just not going to be engaged.
Yeah, absolutely. So your name is not going to be the only one on the ballot. When people do show up to vote, it's going to be your name for this position. It's going to be your name and 2 other people on that ballot to choose from. What do you want people to remember when they see your name on that ballot?
I'm all the way at the bottom. I'm last on the ballot, which unfortunately the ballot draw happened. But I would say that for people that are voting in the KDIC election, there'll be 3 positions that they will be able to vote for, since all the positions are at large. The key here is to remember who has been standing in solidarity with our educators, and who has been staying with public education, and who is going to continue to advocate for our students and educators. And also, who wasn't handpicked by a small particular group, and who's being backed by community. I think those are the things that I would encourage people when they're stepping into the polling booth to think about before they make their decision.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else that you feel like we need to put out there? Anything I haven't covered? Any questions I haven't asked?
If
the
you
audience?
think that these type of elections don't matter, think again, because that is how we got stuck with some horrible board members in the past that don't care about community and don't care about supporting students or educators, and don't believe that what's happening in the state is horrible. So please, I encourage everyone to just go and vote, whether it's for me or not. That doesn't matter. The most important thing is that you need to ensure that your voice is being heard, and that you are doing your constitutional duty in casting that ballot, because that is how democracy lives.
Yeah,
If
how
we
we
do
save
not go and cast a vote, then there won't be need for a Democratic
Right.
election.
their voice does matter, their vote does matter. And if they feel like they don't, that's the suppression working.
Yeah.
It actually does. And
Mhm.
especially in these local elections, these positions are voted on by just a couple hundred people maybe. And how big this district is, so many
Right.
more should be showing up
Yeah.
and using their voice
Yeah.
to decide.
Yeah. I think around 7 to 8% of the electorate of this district votes when there's over 245,000 voters registered.
That's
So it's a very small portion of the public that actually comes out and votes,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
you have to come out and vote.
Right.
That's my
Right.
message.
And it's no secret that parents have grievances with school, as they should. There's a lot going on. And this is where they need to come to at least start making their voice heard
Yeah.
by their vote and then showing up at these school board meetings and being part of that process and using their voice for that to start. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
having this interview. And I hope that we get the word out even more about you and just highlighting your campaign and what you're doing. I think you're a wonderful candidate. If I lived in Katy, you would have my vote.
Thank
So thank you so much for stepping up. I know that this has been such a new adventure for you.
Yeah.
Not an easy process by any means.
No.
But certainly your efforts and time and energy do not go unseen. We appreciate you just for
Yeah.
stepping up and showing up and doing the hard work.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been a nonstop campaign, just continuing to go every day and just trying to reach as many people as possible.
Yeah.
This district has changed so much over the last
Right.
5 years.
Right.
It's now in my minority majority district,
Yeah.
which means that it's so many different challenges that this district has never faced before
Yeah.
because of that. And
Right.
we just need to make sure that every piece of this district is being represented to the best.
Right. All voices being heard. The dynamics are so varied. So just hearing everyone's voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.